To KPMG Chief Economist Dr. Rynne. Brendan, great to see you. What's your take on that strong number? We were just reflecting with Ross the incredible consistency of the employment market, the labour force, and 4.1% or thereabouts for many months.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows the astounding strength that we do have within the Australian labour market at the moment. And that also goes to the strength that's still underlying the overall domestic economy. I know that we've started to talk about what to do with interest rate cuts, and I know that the market is fully pricing in a 25 basis point cut for the upcoming meeting in May. We're still a little uncertain as to whether or not that will play out, and fundamentally because what we are seeing is in this labour market a underlying strength that's still showing unemployment rate well below the NAIRU level of unemployment, which is about 4.3, 4.4%. So that underlying strength within the labour market shows that normally when the Reserve Bank looks to cut rates, it does so because there's been a fall in the unemployment rate, lifting to numbers north of that NAIRU level. But we are seeing unemployment remaining.
Yeah, let's explain that, Brendan, because the jargon can be confusing, but it's a pretty simple idea, isn't it? Because the NAIRU level, that's basically the level of unemployment where the RBA says it's safe to start cutting rates.
So, sorry, I'm getting too jargonistic. NAIRU is the non-accelerating inflation rate for unemployment. It's the level that shows that once unemployment falls below that level, the likelihood is that you're going to get persistent and higher inflation. Now, we've been at below the NAIRU level for quite some time now. And while inflation has been declining, our core inflation still remains at the top end of that target level. Our own analysis at KPMG shows that, which we're just about to release, shows that the inflation levels are coming down from a demand perspective, but we're remaining high from a supply perspective. So the supply elements driving inflation are still the predominant elements that are underscoring the price growth that we're seeing within this economy. So all in all, what that says to us is that the pathway forward for future interest rate cuts is just getting trickier and trickier, particularly with regards to what we're seeing with the global tariffs that are being put in place by the United States administration. Our own analysis again suggests that the impact on Australia's GDP is going to be small, probably shave off around 0.3% growth by the end of the year. Nowhere near as bad as what we anticipate to see happening in the United States or in China. But that's not going to cause the Reserve Bank to adopt some form of emergency monetary policy relief.
Will there be some cuts?
Oh, certainly.
One or two. How many are you thinking?
We do expect the inflation rate, the interest rates to continue to drop this year. We don't anticipate there being 5 interest rate cuts this year, but certainly around 3 would make sense to us, possibly a fourth one by December. But the global turmoil that's coming as a consequence of these tariffs aren't necessarily, the drop in GDP in Australia isn't necessarily being driven by the tariffs being applied to Australian goods going into the US. It's in fact the indirect effects associated with the 125% tariffs going into China, China's response with 125% tariffs to the US, and then the commodity effects around iron, steel and aluminium.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your thoughts. Thanks for getting the instant analysis there on the labour force number. KPMG Chief Economist Rynne. Talk to you soon.